Namo Phat. Good morning. Thanks for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fourth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I'm determined to speak truthfully, with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news I do not know to be certain, and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I am determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. This morning we're reading Unpacking the Pain, Ill Will, Causal Sequence from Ajahn Thiradhammo's book, Working with the Five Hindrances. One time, during our 3-month winter retreat at Dharma Monastery in Switzerland, we had a fresh overnight snowfall, and the day dawned bright and sunny. It was one of those picture postcard scenes in the Swiss Alps. I felt I needed to photograph it before the snow melted. The best shot of the snow-covered monastery and surrounding hills was from across the fields, and the easiest way to get there was to follow the groomed ski track. However, it is seriously frowned upon to walk on a track which is meant only for skiers. I knew this, but I thought that I would only be using it for 10 minutes and no one would be bothered. So I set off along the ski track, and just as I was preparing to take a photograph, a skier came along and aggressively berated me for walking on the ski track. I was somewhat ashamed for being caught out, but also keen to get the photograph, so I tried to explain my situation. However, he had no sympathy for me and continued his verbal attack. I eventually retreated and returned to my room, anger quietly simmering. It seemed to be a relatively minor incident, but the next day I still felt the simmering anger and indignation throbbing in my chest. I tried a few rationalizations to dismiss the lingering effects, but to little avail. On the third day, the effects were still there, seemingly as fresh as on the day of the incident. Since we were in the middle of our winter retreat, this disturbing event cast a shadow over the peace and quiet, which are the primary benefits of retreat. However, it did occur to me that as this anger continued to persist, even though the situation was seemingly quite minor, maybe there was actually more going on than appeared. So I began to pay particular attention to the physical sensation churning in my chest. Although not pleasant, it was in effect quite interesting. I kept observing this sensation, and since it was fairly obvious, my attention remained there quite consistently. As I was observing the sensation a few days later, it suddenly dawned on me that this was not actually anger, but rather resentment. This insight sent a wave of relaxing energy through the body, and a flood of memories, images, and thoughts washed through the mind, revealing a long and sordid history of resentment. The sensations in the chest lightened and broadened out, but continued to resonate. I continued to observe this new type of sensation, and gradually the mental activity slowed down, and a renewed clarity of mind appeared. Then, just as suddenly as before, I had the realization that this was not actually resentment, but frustration. Once again, a wave of relaxation washed through the body, and a cascade of memories of a long history of frustration flooded through the mind. At the same time, The sensations centered in the chest became more diffuse and less impacted. I continued this experiential inquiry into the sensations for several more days, and once again, the experience shifted, this time into a fear reaction. I know that if there is fear, awareness must be very close to the root of self-identity. I could distinguish two kinds of fear. One was fear of the energy latent in anger, and the second was an amorphous fear of non-being. The sensations in the body were now diffused throughout the torso. I continued to observe the physical sensations and the fear pulsing throughout body and mind, and then the fear dropped away, and there was just free-flowing energy pulsing through the body. When I tried to grasp it, the fear came back, overshadowing the free-flowing, selfless energy. Just allowing it to be, without any grasping, was blissful and boundless. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me today.